What is up, everyone? P-Don's here, and I am bringing you guys a live premiere of Week 8 of VDL Serum Shot Division. Essentially, we were voted as the live premiere this week, and I was worried I wasn't going to be able to do it because I had 2 games scheduled for Wednesday night. I'm leaving for a wedding on Friday morning, and time is going to be tight. Unfortunately, my opponent in PDCL Code Red, he ended up getting COVID, so we had to postpone the match. But the silver lining is I can actually do a proper premiere and break down this VDL matchup. So it's been a little rough for me in VDL. How rough? Well, I started off 0-2. I ended up taking a loss to my practice partner, Connor, with the Celadon Stuffle, and also another Code Red coach, Depis of Al Zygards. So I was left pretty stranded. I was able to win 4 in a row, get myself back into it, and I took a brutal loss last week. My opponent played fantastically, and I did not play well at all, and I got totally destroyed. So this leaves me in a position where I'm 4-3, but clearly second place in the division. And if I am able to win this game, I will clinch second place in the Violet division and clinch a playoff spot. If I don't win this game, things can get very messy. These are the standings of all 24 teams. Top 2 in each division go to the playoffs, and the next 4 best teams will go. Now, is there a world where you have a lot of these 4-3, 3-4 teams floating around where I could make it at 4-3-0? It's possible. Could I make it? Sorry, could I make it at 4-4 -1? I don't know. So my first priority is I have to win this set, but I really have to make sure I am not 2-0'd. Because if I'm 2-0'd, my tiebreakers are going to go negative, and I am probably screwed. So, with that being said, let's take a look at the matchup. Got my team on the left, Gambit's team on the right, and I think there's a lot of power between these two teams. Like, obviously Cinderace is an incredibly strong Pokemon. On the other side, you've got G-Max Wildfire, you've got potential beat-up stuff, you've got some weakness policy procs, got an Adaptabilitymon. Like, there's a lot of strong Pokemon that could be swinging attacks at each other in this matchup. And essentially, what I noticed in prep was that Goodra and Comfey, they can cause sheer amounts of terror for me. Even if I bring Galarian, Weezing, stop Triage, and even try to burn the Goodra. Like, Weezing doesn't have the best way to hit Goodra. Yes, you Dazzle and Gleam or Strange Steam it, but you're dealing with a base 150 special defense, and you're probably proccing weakness policy. I can maybe burn it, but then it could be a special. I might not even hit the Goodra because Comfey can learn Ally Switch. And when we top it all off, Comfey can even heal the Goodra, even without Triage. So my first priority has to be stopping that combo, or I'm not going to get far in this matchup. Sneakily, Gambit has a beat-up mode as well. Charizard is not the biggest user of beat-up, but it is a definite possibility. Like, there's scenarios where Charizard can end up with a Choice Scarf, beat up the Cobalion if I don't lead Togetic or I don't have Weezing, and all of a sudden I'm staring down a +4 Dynamax Cobalion, and I have problems. There's also the possibility the Charizard to go physical, Cobalion coaches it, or even the traditional like Life Orb, Last Burn, G-Max Wildfire Charizard can still hit me pretty hard. So Goodra Comfey I have to deal with, but I need to respect Charizard and Cobalion too. Mesprit is also pretty flexible in how it can be run. Its stats are pretty balanced and it is pretty bulky, so it can be run physically, specially, or supportively. In one of my prep matches, I actually fought a Life Orb physical Max Airstream using Mesprit, which kind of threw me off guard a little bit, but made me basically lock in mentally and be able to respect everything this thing can do. So I do need to be careful of it and figure out how Gambit is going to run it if it comes. And since you know I did draft Togetic in the first round, 12th overall, so I'm pretty familiar with how powerful Follow Me can be. And I know that Togepi next to Belladrum and Linoon, Choice Band or Swords Dance, Crawdaunt with adaptability, or even a Decidueye like Swords Dancing or Crit Leaf Blading or anything like that. This stuff can get pretty scary if it's not dealt with quickly. So these are some things I also need to respect. So with that, this is the team I'm bringing into this matchup to try to clinch me a playoff spot. I've got Togetic, Marowak, Cinderace, Gothitelle, Lapras, and Rotom Frost. Now, the idea for this matchup, I noticed, is that if I am able to lead Cinderace and Marowak together, they can kind of cover a lot of the things that I'm expecting. Both of them are offensive threats in of themselves, but Cinderace being able to coach Marowak as it maxes gives Marowak more staying power and gives me the +1 that I need to get some KOs that I might otherwise not be expecting. Like for example, Marowak needs the +1 on its Max Wormwind to guarantee the KO on the I also with like Max Quake into, say, a Cobalion, if it gets the Steel Spike boost off, it's definitely not dying. But if you have a bit of beat up chip plus the +1 Earthquake into it, which will be Max Quake, there's a chance it can KO the Cobalion. Plus there are some Mons on Gambit's team that look like they are going to go physical anyway. So being able to coach the Marowak up, I feel like is going to give me a good shot to outlast this team and do the damage I need to claim victory. Now, if this fails, I do have Lapras and Gothitelle as backup mode. I'm running the physical Lapras this week to make sure I can KO Goodra with the weakness policy proc. Also, besides the weakness policy proc, Energy Ball with Gothitelle actually helps do a decent amount of damage to Crawdaunt if I do get into that situation. And as always, Lapras and Gothitelle, you can always have a perish mode if there's a passive set of Mons on the board. Like for example, if it's a support Mesprit and Comfey, I might be able to lock those in, start perishing, And obviously I can always perish with 2 Mons left and try to win the game that way. Rotom Frost, it's an alternate way to hit Gudra, Charizard, Decidueye, Misfit, and Crawdon super effectively. This time I opted for Shadow Ball because Rotom Frost does outspeed Marowak. If I do max the Rotom for whatever reason, I can go Max Phantasm into something and then follow it up with an Earthquake where both Mons on my opponent's side are -1, and that should be dealing a lot of damage. And obviously Togetic in this case is the glue. I'm able to protect my sweepers like Marowak and Cinderace. And if Togepi gets annoying, I can always imprison the Follow Me with Togetic. And besides that, I can also imprison Protect, meaning my opponent won't be able to stall out my max with timely protects, and I should be doing full damage to many of the Mons that could be brought into me. Now, I wasn't able to imprison everything. I would have loved to imprison, I don't know, Ally Switch, Yawn. There's definitely some other support stuff that I could probably teach Togetic that I'd love to have had imprisoned. But, you know, 4 move slot syndrome, and I do need the Dazzling Gleam to, like, finish off a Crawdon or something like that. So we'll have to make do. And with that, I'm going to be post-commentating the sets. I've said this a lot during UGA, if anyone watched my videos there. I do value the live matches, but I've always found it difficult to do commentary as I'm going on. Like, there are a lot of times where I take the turns close to time because I'm thinking about everything, and me talking it out I think would be a distraction for me. So it's better for me if I post-commentate it. And yeah, this should still be on Twitch, even though this is a live premiere and it will be on YouTube. So I will throw that in there if you want to watch it on Twitch for whatever reason. But yeah, let's take you guys into the battle against the Nova Scotia Scyther, and let's see if I can clinch a playoff spot. Alright, so we've got a pretty big match on our hands. I do need to win this to make playoffs. So let's jump into it. Alright, there's the team I covered earlier. And we need some music befitting the occasion of how important this match is in the league. So, yeah, Pier's music. Gotta love it. Just waiting for Gambit to lock in. And the first thing I notice on this team preview is no Cobalion. That means that I am not going to have to put up with any beat-up stuff. However, Comfey Gudra is still a problem. Charizard itself can hit hard. And obviously Crawdon's got adaptability, so that's hitting hard. We need to figure out what Misfit is going to be doing. And I do need to get around Togepi in order to deal the damage I need to win this set. So I decide the safest thing I can do is go with the Cinderace Marowak lead that I practiced. I have 2 offensive options here, and I can also coach up the Marowak and basically do what I was doing in practice. Now for the third mon, I actually do decide on the Rotom. I can hit everything except the the Comfey and the Togepi super effectively, and I can definitely take a hit from Charizard with the Aqua Berry, so I think that will help. And because I have 3 pretty offensive Pokemon, I go with the Togetic to get Follow Me support and to basically lock down the other 3 and protect them. Alright, so a Togepi Mesh Spirit lead is a little annoying because I have to take out the Togepi in order to damage the Mesh Spirit. I can't Earthquake it because of Levitate. So this makes me pause on what I want to do. Because at this point too, I'm not even sure what kind of Mesh Spirit it is. For all I know, it can max Togepi and go Helping Hand, and Marowak eats max Overgrowth or something. So I'm considering all these options, and I decided the safest thing to do would be to coach and keep Gambit honest and force to follow me by Throat Chop in the Mesh Spirit. Because if it doesn't follow me, the +1 Throat Chop will either do significant damage or KO the Mesh Spirit entirely. But Gambit does stay honest and doesn't follow me. I get the coaching off. Remember, follow me can't redirect coaching, so that's pretty great for me at this point. With defense and attack up, and the Throat Chop comes in, and I do about 20%. Yeah, it's not very effective, but it's a thick club and +1. This leads me to believe that Togepi is both Eviolite and probably 252 Volt. So I am going to have to be careful while dealing. With Trick Room up, I am worried about Marowak being on. So I get the Togetic in for redirection, and I go for the Detect to block a potential Yawn. And I do get that right as the Yawn does come in. And the Mesh Spirit just goes for a Dazzling Bolt. That's not going to do too much damage, so we definitely take that. So we definitely follow me here. I'm probably going to get yawned by the Togepi into the Togetic. And I do opt for the Earthquake here because I believe that a +1 Vic Club Earthquake is going to KO the Togepi. The Mesh Spirit actually switches and the Crawdon comes in. So I am thrilled to see this because this Earthquake is probably KOing it. We take the Yawn into the Togetic, but the Earthquake goes off, and as I thought, it does one-shot the Crawdon, and this game just got a lot easier for me. But Togepi actually survives that hit, so I am beyond convinced at this point that it's Eviolite, 252 HP, 252 defense, and Bolt, or Relax or something like that. And if not that, then something very close. Because these are very strong hits that the Marowak is dishing out at the moment. Alright, so my Togetic is Drowsy. And I realize that if I don't take this Togepi out, I am going to probably lose this game. Because I'm sure something in the back is going to be able to have enough offensive power to deal with me. And I still don't know Mesh Spirit's entire moveset, so I am a little worried about it being a special attack. So, in order to bring this down to 2-1-2, and to cover for maybe a Charizard switch, I decide to max the Togepi, the Marowak, and max Darkness to the Togepi. My thinking too is, if Togepi goes for Protect, I can KO with through Protect. If Charizard gets swapped out, or swapped in, or like a Bruiser or something like that, I can deal a decent amount of damage to it. But we actually see the Life do here. So I'm a little worried now that this Max Darkness is not going to KO Togepi. And if it doesn't, then Marowak is getting gone next turn. Fortunately, though, I am able to do enough damage to knock Togepi out with the Max Darkness. So I've brought this down to a 4-on-2, and the Togepi's gone. The Mesprit actually shows Reflect here, so this is most likely a support Mesprit. Trick Room, Dazzling Gleam, we've seen Reflect. I would imagine Light Screen is the last move at this point. And the last Pokemon shown is Charizard. I'm not entirely sure of Mesprit's last move. I think it's Light Screen, but I have to respect the ally switch. So deciding not to play around with that, I decide to Max Darkness Charizard. I want to get as much damage as possible on it, as it's my opponent's last realistic offensive threat. And if I can get it down enough, the Cinderace and Rotom in the back can finish this game. But Gambit does go for the Max Guard to stall out my last turn of Max. No ally switch pops out, so it's probably Light Screen at this point. So, knowing that, I have what I'm doing right now is trying to see if Max Special Attack Life Orb Charizard can KO Marowak and Max over. I find out the damage calc. The answer is no, so I do go for the Follow Me, and I decide I just want to get Mesprit out of here, and I decide to go into it. We do get the one-turn wait, which is fantastic. And yeah, it was Trick Room that was stalled out, not my Max, I apologize. But the Togetic eats the G-Max Wildfire very well. Takes the follow-up Dazzling Gleam, and I fire Max Darkness into Mesprit. We don't see Culver Berry activate. We don't see a Focus Sash activate. So the Mesprit goes down. The special defense drops can also help me if I need Rotom to finish off Charizard in the late game. So yeah, Marowak's putting in a lot of work here. And I just go for Follow Me, beat the last turn of Max, and I don't want to reveal Outrage yet, especially since Goodra did not appear in this game. So I just go for the Throat Chop for general damage. Togetic gets to Follow Me off. Charizard does go for the Air Scream, which is good for Gambit since it will now be faster than Cinderace. And I Throat Chop, and through Reflect I get a decent amount, like 30-35%. I decide to bring the Cinderace in to not reveal the fact that I have Rotom in the back, and try to get these two to finish off the game before I have to switch in my last Pokemon. With the damage I did, I also realized Reflect is still up, so I go and check how many turns of Reflect are left. There's one turn left. I think I have the offense to end this game now, but I really want to see if Mess Spirit is like Clay. So I coach up my own Marowak and go for the Protect. But Gambit does Protect for me anyway, so I'm gonna get the coaching off, turn into a fighting type, and yeah, so Marowak will likely be able to finish the job next turn. But I also do get to check to see if Mess Spirit is actually carrying Light Clay. So I do go for that, and there are 3 turns left now, confirming Mess Spirit's item is Light Clay, and its 4th move is likely, but not guaranteed, to be Light Screen. The Air Slash goes into the Cinderace, which would have been super effective. Unfortunately, it misses. I have Flare Blitz on the Cinderace because the way I was playing Cinderace in practice, it was more of a Mon that I couldn't afford to miss with, but to be on the field for like 1 or 2 turns, so I had to get the damage off, and I didn't want to miss with Pyro Ball. So yeah, Cinderace with Flare Blitz is able to do what I need to do in this matchup, and with that, Cinderace Flare Blitz, the Marowak gets the Throat Chop off, and I'm able to win game 1. So right now, we have averted the worst case scenario. 4-4, 0 might get me in as a wild card if disaster strikes. But I am 1 game win away from clinching a playoff spot. So my thought process is, let's wrap this up now, and let's put it into our own hands and do it ourselves. So the Togepi being most likely max defense Eviolite is a bit concerning for me. So I'm spending a lot of team preview calculating what kind of damage Cinderace does to the Togepi, as well as what kind of damage Marowak does to the Togepi. What I eventually find is that the only way I can one-shot the Togepi is if I max the Cinderace and go for max Steel Spike. I'm definitely leaving that as an option, but I'm not sure if I want to do it. However, because Game 1 was very effective with the Cinderace Marowak lead, and because of the fact that I did not show Max Wormwind or Outrage, and that I would expect a change up from Gambit, probably to Goodra, I decide to bring the same 4 Pokemon. Cinderace, Marowak lead, Togetic to protect them, and Rotom in the back just to finish off some Pokemon if need be. And we do see a change up in Crawdaunt and Togepi. And yeah, Crawdaunt is bad news for both of them. So I'm not entirely sure what I am going to do here. What I do think is that Marowak is the bigger target based on game 1. So I decide to Iron Head the Togepi to get into KO range, and to bring Togetic in to protect Cinderace if it survives the turn, and to threaten Crawdaunt with some decent chip damage. Fortunately for me, the Crawdaunt doesn't max and just go ballistic at this point. You just follow me, and Crawdaunt is actually going to Swords Dance here, which it was in the back of my mind, but I was expecting a quicker Crawdaunt, I guess, like a Choice Band 1 or a Life Orb, I guess. But still, Swords Dance is a force to be reckoned with. So I decide to keep Gambit honest and go for the high jump kick into the Crawdaunt. If it's redirected into Togepi, I should KO anyway. This Helping Hand scares me because I think an Aqua Jet would actually KO. But the Aqua Jet doesn't come. I get the high jump kick. Crawdaunt is not Focus Sashed, which even that was hypothetically possible. And I am able to get rid of it. And Togetic is able to knock out Togepi without it. Both games, Crawdaunt had the potential to be a huge offensive threat, and I was essentially able to get rid of it before it did anything, which for me was huge. So we finally see the Goodra Comfey combo, and what I am looking to do here is to mitigate ally switch as much as I can. I figure I have at least one turn before it goes off, if at all, because the weakness policy or the Sap Sipper has to be procced first. So I do decide to Iron Head the Comfey. Worst case, it goes into max Goodra and does a decent amount. And I can start following me with Togetic next turn, and bring in Marowak. So the Goodra does max. Do have to protect. But Comfey goes for the Draining Kiss, which does proc the policy, but that also means no ally switch, which means Iron Head is going into the Comfey. And we see no Berry, and we see no Focus Sash, so Comfey just goes down. And Wormwind comes out, and despite the fact I'm a Steel type now, Cinderace is not taking that hit, and it does go down. The ultimate thought process there was Goodra and Comfey would still be on the field, and Cinderace would go down, but I'd be able to Earthquake both of them while following me, so I would be able to avoid any ally switch shenanigans. But with Comfey actually going down there, I just go straight for the Dynamax, the Max Wormwind off of Outrage, and the Follow Me. Depending on the Goodra spread, this might one-shot. I don't have the coaching boost, but it might take 2 turns. Plus, Max Steel Spike boost could be annoying and could give Gambit away back into the game. But Togetic is going to be able to follow me here. And I see the Max Flare, which makes me believe that this was probably a special Goodra. So I didn't get steel spikes. Gambit was probably respecting the potential for a max lightning with the lightning rod, but I'm battle armor this week to avoid crits with Stitchwise or +2 Gudra, and the Wormwind is able to one-shot. I'm able to win the set 2-0, and I am going to the VDL playoffs. And yeah, good games to Gambit, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the playoffs. So we are back here, and we were able to get the win. Blizzards were able to defeat the Nova Scotia Scyther 2-0, and yeah, it was pretty tough on paper to get all the planning right and stuff, but being able to have a lot of the prep, even if it wasn't the exact move sets I prepped for, but like the general strategy being able to come together, yeah, that ended up working out real well for me, and it was a catalyst to help me get this win. Coaching up the Marowak gave me the momentum I needed to win game 1. Togepi and Mesprit were able to slow the game down a bit. Togepi was insanely physically bulky. I couldn't Earthquake Mesprit due to Levitate. I didn't want to Earthquake myself. Togepi didn't die to an Earthquake. But Marowak was able to keep dishing out the damage needed. Was able to call that Yawn turn. And Togetic was able to give me just enough time to get rid of the Togepi, and I was able to push from there and claim game 1. Now game 2, Gambit made a good adjustment, and I needed Cinderace to step up a little bit, and it was able to. Basically knocking out basically dropping the Togepi to knockout range and being able to take out the Crawdaunt with the high jump kick that wasn't redirected, and it was even able to finish off the Comfey, thus setting it up for Marowak to come in and finish the job against Gudra. And while being able to contain Gudra and to a certain extent Charizard was important, something that really impacted the set was both games I was able to make Crawdaunt do basically nothing. I was able to KO it on a switch in game 1, and I was able to KO it with the high jump kick in game 2 after a Sword Sands. Now, I think Crawdaunt, because of the adaptability, had enough offensive pressure in just the right unique spots where if I wasn't careful, it definitely could have caused problems with Gudra. So being able to get rid of it that quick, and the way I was able to do so in both games, was huge, and it definitely pushed me forward to grab this win. So with that, this win puts us at 5-3 +3, and it clinches us second place in the Violet division. Connor did win the division at a 6-1 with a set against Ed to be played tomorrow in the Shadow Ducks, so that should be fun for them. I started VDL horribly. Like, I aforementioned lost to Connor week 1, losing to Depes week 2 was miserable because I had never started 0-2 in a league prior to this one, and I did not see a way out. But I basically got down on myself again. Like this is normal for me on the circuit and even a bit in draft leagues. But I just kept playing. I won 4 in a row. I recovered from being destroyed last week, and winning 5 out of 6 after an 0-2 start to clinch a playoff berth. This is pretty up there with one of my best feeling draft performances. Like there's some leagues I've won, but being able to come back from being down like that is and especially too when the power rankings have you 18th out of 24th. Like being able to turn all that around to go to the playoffs, it feels really good and almost a vindication for me. So I am definitely glad I was able to do it, and yeah, me drafting Togetic with the 12th overall pick, I guess it worked out. But yeah, being undefeated at a division, was able to make up for the Violet division being horribly miserable for me. I only won 2 games against in-division opponents, but the 3 games I got out of division, yeah, I was able to take all of them. So I guess if I'm able to avoid the Violet division in the playoffs, that might help. But who knows? There are a lot of good coaches in this league with a lot of good teams, and every match is going to be hard from this point forward. So I'll have to be ready. I'm unsure of what the playoff matchup will be. I understand it's going to be randomized after all the games are in, and we'll see what wildcard team I get next week. And I do need to thank Connor for helping me, like, and obviously Miss Mag. Now Connor is my co-manager in Victory Road's World Cup for Team Ireland, along with Maddie. So yeah, we have a lot of experience together, and it definitely sucked that we had to play week 1, but I'm definitely glad the 2 of us are advancing out of the division. Like that, it's my practice partner and me are advancing. I'm definitely happy about that. Miss Mag was able to throw me a few games based on how important this set was. So I'm very thankful for him as well to be able to do it. And I have to give a special shout out to Richard Hodge, aka Greenios. He used to be in Reversal's front office in WBE. We then added him to Steph of Anime's front office in the X9 Draft League, but he's been a friend of mine for a few years, and he has been helping me to grind every single one of these leagues, like GLDL, UDL, PDCL, VDL, PAC VGC, you name it. He's been there. He's been helping me, and I am so appreciative of the time he's put in to help me and basically get me to where I need to be in these leagues. And yeah, I basically told him all this at Worlds, but I'm reiterating it again. Thank you so much, Richard. So with that, I will be streaming my entire playoff run, however long it goes, on Twitch, based on like it was fun to be able to do one of these again, and I should have more time if I'm voted as a live premiere for one of my playoff matches to actually do this right, I guess, instead of like how fast I had to get this together like this week based on my real life plans. But yeah, hopefully I can keep going, and yeah, I will at minimum be streaming a playoff match on Twitch next week, and I hope to see you all there. Thank you all for watching.